This is Aussie Mac Zone. We'll cover everything Apple, including Macs, iPhones, iPads, and more. All this from an Aussie perspective. Sit back, relax, insert yourself into the zone. The Aussie Mac Zone.
Good evening, everybody. It's Michael on his own tonight. Getting up too early must have been too much for Nick and Garth to watch our spectacular Apple event that was this morning, 3 o'clock our time. And it was very good too. So I'm just going to run through what happened. I'll chuck in a few pictures when I can. So it started off with the Beatles, Love, 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 with pictures of the new campus and people arriving. Now, there was some discussion on some places whether that was today people arriving or not today people arriving, but it doesn't matter. It was showing off the new campus, which is just here, opening, looking beautiful, isn't it? So that's just the Steve Jobs Theatre at the campus. Pretty spectacular, and looking forward to seeing more of it. I wish I was there. But don't forget, we are brought to you by athwebhosting.com.au, and they've got spectacular pricing, $5.95 per month when paid annually, and I go through the list every week. 99.95% uptime, 260 bits installed with one click, so I'm not even reading it tonight. So athwebhosting.com.au, a lot of fun, great place to deal with, and save time, save money, get your SL certificate if you need one, so that we can do the HTTPS and get a better ranking of Google, of course. So here we go. So we had started off with the soundtrack of the Beatles' Love, 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 and then we went to Steve giving a little speech about keeping Apple, which was excellent. And then first I thought Tim Cook was sounding a bit crook talking about Steve, when he was talking about Steve, but then I thought, no, maybe it's he was just a bit choked up at the beginning, opening the theatre, the Steve Jobs Theatre in his name, and this, Tim and Steve were friends after all, so besides being work colleagues, so maybe he was just a bit choked up and not a bit crook. Then he disregarded everything and he spoke about the cyclone situation and that Apple were donating different ways, and there was a TV show on tonight in American time suggested watching that, which was like a telethon, I believe, for raising money, and also that we can donate through iTunes, of course. So now Tim then started to talk about the new campus. 9,000 plus trees from a sea of asphalt. So I don't know what was there first, but wasn't a lot there when they took over apparently. So it's 100% renewable energy. It will have a visitor centre and it will have a store. And within the visitor centre there will be an augmented reality centre showing off the park to everybody, letting you go around the park without actually leaving and keeping everything secure, but letting you enjoy the whole situation, which is a very clever way of using our new augmented reality, isn't it? And then finally, she was there on stage. Angela Ahrendts was talking about the retail situation that we have for Apple at the moment, and so they're no longer called stores; they're called town squares. So it's more like a place for people to meet instead of just going in there to buy something or going in to buy something or going in for the hard sell. They do have these little areas around the store which will change seasonally. So just like the windows in a former employer's dress windows that change per season, the Apple what they call the Apple windows will change per season too, and we know what they are when we go in the store. Then she was raving about how good Apple today is and what it's brought to us, and she said Creative Pro is to liberal arts. So the person that runs the Apple today is a Creative Pro, and she's saying the Creative Pro is to liberal arts as the Genius is to Apple support at the Town Squares. I nearly said store then, didn't I? At the Town Squares. Then we had a little video showing off today at Apple, and then we had a sneak peek. What's next? Continued expansion with lots of stores coming, including the reopening of the New York store with its glass cube. They're rebuilding a new part. They're rebuilding a building in Paris. They're rebuilding a building in Milan and Washington and Chicago. And as Andy said today, like you go to the one in Chicago, it's near the park. So instead of saying I'll meet you at the coffee shop or I'll meet you at the park, you can say I'll meet you at the Apple store, and then we can walk across to the park. And then she signed off with a big thank you to the 65,000 retail staff that Apple have now. So we're here. The first announcement Tim Cook is releasing. He said we're here to discuss the new Apple Watch Series 3. And yes, it will have cellular. So its growth since Series 2 was 50% over the last 12 months. Apple Watch is now the number one in the world. And then we saw a video about lots of people, reading their letter to Apple about how the watch has helped or helps them, or even in some case saves them. Pardon me. Sorry about that. And then Jeff came on to announce the future of the Apple Watch with smart activity, the heart rate sensor, and they're bringing out an improved heart rate app, which will give you a notification of an elevated heart rate when it thinks you're not active. And it actually keeps a track of all this, and it's to do with atrial fibrillation. And there's an Apple Heart study, and it's FDA approved, and it's with I've forgotten, John Hopkins or one of the other universities over there. I've forgotten which one it was now. And it will be available through the App Store, whether that's in Australia or not. I think they said November for that, all part of getting that FDA approval, etc. One thing I picked up is, so the standard Series 3 watch will have 8 gig capacity, and the new cellular one will have 16 gig capacity, probably to hold all those extra songs, I would think, because you can stream your music now, and to make sure you get quality music listen. And the Series 3 GPS has got a composite back and a ceramic back on the cellular one, and that's obviously to let the radio waves through for your cellular connection, I would think. So then we've also learnt that it will be the same phone number as your Apple phone, and you have to have it with the same carrier. So in Australia, that is Telstra, Optus and Vodafone, even though it's a bit light on this next slide here. Yeah, Telstra, Optus and Vodafone are definitely there. So maybe not the cheaper carriers, especially to start with. And we're going to get the next WatchOS on September 19th. Then we had a video about the Apple Watch Series 3. Cellular built-in, freedom to go anywhere, same phone number, stream 40 million songs on your wrist. We'll have a dual-core processor, faster Siri, talking Siri, because it'll actually instead of having to read your watch again, now it'll actually read things out to you, which is excellent, especially when you're driving. There's a W2 chip for Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. There's a barometric altimeter, and they say that will, besides measuring that you've gone up and down stairs during the day, skiing and snowboard apps will be able to tie into the barometric altimeters and improve their outcomes for their apps for measuring your health, etc. Now, there's a couple of little tricks. The new one has got a red crown on it, like a red, I wouldn't have said jewel on the end of the crown, the circular button on the phone. The whole display is the antenna. It has an electronic SIM, and the case is the same size as Series 2, but the back crystal, the bit of glass on the back, is 0.2 millimeters thicker, which is nothing. So then Jeff did a demo where he called Deidre, and when she answered, one of the staff, she was on a paddleboard, which got big cheers. It's out in the middle of a lake. So it's a serious. He had the discussion with her, and then he actually said he went off script because he was saying, like, we're here and he's double mic'd, and you could hear everything clearly. She was on a paddleboard out in the middle of nowhere, and she only had the microphone that was on the watch, and we could hear her quite well. He said that was awesome. So we're going to get special Series 3 loop bands from Nike and Hermes, etc. There's a new grey ceramic colour if you're into that. And our prices, did I do the prices for the watch? I'm sure I did the prices for the watch. Not there. Yes, there they are. Haven't got my glasses on, so no wonder I can't see them. So the 38mm, which is from $459, and the 42mm from $499. So, because that's the aluminium case, and that's the Fog Sport band, as they say. So, there we go, something to look forward to on our wrist now. And because I personally don't go out for runs and things like that, so having the watch have a separate cellular connectivity right this minute probably doesn't mean anything to me. I could think about some more and go from there, but because I carry my phone with me nearly all the time anyway. But like they say, being able to answer your phone anytime, anywhere is awesome. When you leave your phone upstairs and go downstairs to make the coffee or whatever, and just being able to answer the phone on the watch is awesome. And the improved heart sensing that they're getting into now as they're getting more and more data, excellent. Can't go wrong helping someone. With orders September 15 and availability without cellular, which was amazing. I haven't got a release date for the cellular ones in Australia. So, and then they showed a video about streaming music from your watch, and it had a skateboarder doing a few tricks and a whole heap of people at the end. So next we have the Apple TV, and yes, it is a 4K Apple TV. It is 32 gig storage still, or 64 gig, and the 64 gig is only $30 more, and the 4K version I think is $30 or $40 more than the standard version anyway, so that makes it $249 and $279 for the 4K Apple TV. And it is for high density pictures, and they explained that the HDR is HDR10 or Dolby Vision, so that's two of the specs for 4K. There's a few others that are around, but Apple's chosen not to use them, and they believe those two are the ones, like the old Beta and VHS days. Then they had demos using showing us demos using the remastered screensavers. And then they showed us some of the new Spider-Man movie coming up. It's got the same chip as the iPad Pro, twice as fast as current, graphics 4 times faster. 4K movies, if you've bought HD movies, 4K movies will be the same price. And actually, if you've bought the HD movies, Apple will update to 4K for nothing, which is amazing. There must have been a big blue to get that from the studios. Now, there's an Apple TV app is coming to Australia this month, and other countries soon after. Then they showed off a new game from that game company called Sky, and we can order that on September 15 and will ship a week later. Yes. So, what was next? The iPhone 8 is coming. So, we did a brief history of the iPhone. And the iPhone, huge news today. Video to introduce the iPhone 8 and the iPhone Plus. They brought Phil out and he explained that it's going to be in silver, space grey and gold. It'll have a glass front and a glass back. It's got a Retina HD display of 4.7 and 5.5 inch. It's got True Tone technology, stereo speakers. It's got a deeper bass and is 25% louder. The chip is the A11 Bionic chip. It's 64-bit, 4.3 billion transistors, 70% faster. Pardon me again. And now it is also running the first Apple-designed graphics chip. Better processing for the better 12 megapixel camera, which 83% more light, deeper pixels. Then they showed us demos of their photos, and a new portrait lighting mode in camera app. So we did have portrait mode in the 8 Plus, in the 7 Plus with the 2 cameras, and now we do have portrait mode, and they've got this new portrait lighting mode where you can fiddle with the lighting as say you're in a studio, so it makes it thinks you've got lights to move around. You can get rid of any lighting and just make the whole area behind a person black, even if it's bright white in the first place. So that's all part of the extra processing. It's all done on the phone. It's got the highest video capture for smartphones. It's got an Apple design encoder, 2 million tiles every second, which is like not the pixels but the receiving area. 240 frames per second for better slow-mo shots, which is twice the speed. It used to be 120 frames per second. And then remember, we've now got AR camera use, so the camera individually calibrated at the factory for motion tracking. And then they demoed some AR apps. Then they demoed an app from Directive Games called The Machines, which is an AR app, and they looked interesting, yeah, especially if you're into gaming and holding the phone up for a period of time. It's all right for you young people, but us oldies. But anyway, so the wireless, it's LTE advanced. It's got Bluetooth 5. It's got the W1 chip. It has wireless charging and to the Qi standard. It'll be available in 64 gig and 256 gig. So you can order it on September 15. Will be available September 22. And iOS 11 officially September 19th. Now in Australia, the price for the 8 which is the 4.7 inch display, will start at $1,079. That's as opposed to the US $699, and their $799 transposes to $1,229 Australian. So A, we got the Australian dollar, and B, don't forget our prices include GST. And then he came in. No, I'm not going to go there. I'm going to go here. And remember that we've got Aussie Tech Radio, our friends Aussie Tech Radio. You can tune in 24/7, 365 with back-to-back, wall-to-wall tech podcasts from around Australia and New Zealand. You can just stream it on your mobile. You can stream it on your computer. You can just be listening to it. You'll be able to do it on your watch shortly. And listen and enjoy. And don't forget that includes our friends at Aussie Tech Radio, which is the Aussie Tech Head podcast. Glenn's away at the moment, so he's half his luck. He's escaped. And so, yeah, Aussie Tech Heads and Aussie... So I'm just looking it up. Yeah, Aussie Security Podcast. Aussie Tech Security Podcast, sorry. Okay, when I don't have all the notes in front of me, it all goes to crap, don't I? So, then TC came out and he said, we do have one more thing. And he said, we don't use those words lightly, and it's fitting we're here in this place to release the next decade's how did he put it? It's fitting we're here in this place to release the next decade's technology, basically saying that the original iPhone has been going for a decade, and this will be what will lead the way again for the next decade, which is something to look forward to. Then we had a video showing off the new iPhone X, iPhone 10. So Phil introduced, so it's got edge to edge, top to bottom, glass front and back, surgical quality stainless steel. It's available in silver and space grey, and it's got a pearl essence in the glass. It has a super retina display, 5.8 inches, 458 pixels per inch. It is an OLED screen. It has 1 million to 1 contrast, true tone. It has a more fluid experience. You tap the screen to wake it. There is no home button, so we just swipe from the bottom, swipe up, swipe from the bottom will open it. Swipe up, pause will give us multitasking. There is a bigger side button. Unlock is by looking at it, Face ID, with a true depth camera system. There's the neural network's neural engine, which is 600 billion a second just for the Face ID. So 600 billion processes a second just for Face ID. The face data is kept in a secure enclave, and you have to be actually looking at the phone to unlock it. So someone can't hold the phone over your face while you're asleep, for example. You can pick your phone up, but it goes, oh, they're not looking at me, so I'm not going to unlock. And apparently your fingerprint, there was 1 in 50,000 chance that someone could just pick up your phone and have a similar enough fingerprint to unlock your phone. 1 in 50,000. But with your face, there's 1 in a million chance for a random unlocking. Other things it will learn is, say you grow a beard, it'll actually notice the changes and keep going and get used to you. It's always looking at you, so it's always picking up changes in you. As he said, as you get older, there are a whole heap of reasons. You put glasses, you start wearing glasses, it learns that. And there's a thing called Animoji, which is you've got animated emojis, but you make the emoji talk. So you just record this little emoji, and I think there was 12 different emojis. You can make it, you can cluck like a chook or do whatever you like. It's there for you. Then Craig got up to demo our new iPhone 10, and oops, and this made headlines. And all he did was go, oops, pick up the spare, and just went on with it. But it didn't unlock. It asked him for his passcode. So maybe that one hadn't even been set up prior to the show, or who knows. But anyway, big news with the oops. Then they went. Then the news that I watched went on to say, is that something of the future to come? Because Huawei has actually just released the phone and become the number 2 big seller. Yeah, I'm glad Huawei is getting their week in the brightness, because once the iPhone 8's released, Apple will just go and blow them into the water again. Again, you swipe from the bottom to exit apps. You swipe along the bottom, which is a shortcut to switch between apps. Swipe down for control center. All this because there's no home button, right? Even then, they showed Snapchat mask using face tracking, and that Animoji app is a messenger app that you get from the Messenger app store. The cameras are 12 million pixel cameras, same as the iPhone 8, dual optical image stabilization, quad LED flash, true depth camera on the front side as well, and the battery life is actually 2 hours better. And then they showed off the wiring charger station, which is called AirPower. So you can put an iPhone, a Series 3 watch, and the AirPods. You can buy a case for your AirPods if you've already got them, and you will be able to put that on there, so you can actually have 3 things wireless charging at the same time. And that will be available next year. Then we had a video about the iPhone with Johnny Ive talking. And the pricing in Australia, and that's another thing the news annoyed me about, was they straight away said it's going to be $1,800 for the premium model, which it is. But hardly anyone will buy the premium model at $1,800. The 64 gig model, $1,579. Now, will everybody buy one? No. A lot of people will be quite happy with the iPhone 8. We haven't seen a huge difference between the iPhone 8 and the iPhone 10. It's just like the next iteration would be. So basically we're just getting next year's phone, I believe. Apparently they're not going to have a lot available at the beginning because there are still production issues. So apparently they can only make something like 5,000 a day because we're having some production issues. A couple of other interesting things. Johnny Ive was actually there, but he had a baseball cap on, so he was hiding a little bit in the audience. Believe Al Gore was there. Steve Jobs' wife was there today. That's just some of the people that were actually in the audience. What's our next little bit here? No, that's it. So then we had Tim come and confirm that the iPhone 10 is the future of smartphones, and then we had the new iPhone 10 ad, and then they closed off, and that was our 2 hours, just under 2 hours this time. Presentation. A couple of things that were interesting. There was absolutely no Macintosh mention, and absolutely no HomePod mention, none whatsoever. So we must have more coming, another separate show for that or something, or for the Macs or whatever. So something to look forward to between now and Christmas, after our hype dies down from the phones and from the watch and from the Apple TV. And it was just another lot of fun. A lot of people cheering and getting into it. We were all enjoying the new environment, I believe. They do have a HD. When they were demoing the 4K Apple TV, it was on a HD projector that's in there, so that would be a nice projector. But yeah, that's all I have for you this week. And sorry it was only me, but I thought I'd give you an absolute rundown and the current pricing of what we got for Australia. Don't forget, if you want the watch to be cellular, it has to be with your same carrier, whoever you're with, and B, we haven't got any delivery dates for the cellular one. Maybe because they haven't actually given it to anyone to actually be approved at any of the cell networks yet. Like the Federal Aviation thing and that sort of thing. People that approve the cellular devices that we can have. And I will have. I'll also chuck up very quickly. Some that sounds terrible, doesn't it? Now I'll throw up on our different web portals the best way of possibly getting your order in for A, your new iPhone, or B, the iPhone 10, because otherwise you've got to sit there. The Australian time was 6:01 too, by the way. Let me just have a look and see if that was on one of those slides. Yeah, there it is. Pre-orders starting 5:01 p.m. on the 15th of the 9th. That was 6:01 earlier. I'm positive that was 6:01 earlier today. 5:01 today. On the 15th of the 9th is when that's the iPhone 8. So that's when we placed the order for that. And I'm sure the other one's 6:01 in October. So yeah, it's always hard to actually get in early and get on the list. So maybe get the Apple Store app on your phone, for example. That's apparently the more secure way of getting in, a more trusted way without having to hit refresh. And hopefully we'll have some people next week that'll actually talk with us. But I'd like to thank all our listeners and our supporters out there. Thank you. And our viewers, of course. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.